Go back to our top story tonight about mixed reaction to the departure of André de Ruyter rather suddenly from Eskom and the board's decision to shorten his notice period. Now, this news came late last night, barely 24 hours after a TV interview had aired in which de Ruyter claimed that some in the ANC were involved in corruption at the power utility. He also made claims of political interference in the running of the power generator. Now, André de Ruyter had resigned in December last year and was due to serve notice until the end of March as part of a transition process. Let's speak to someone who's worked at Eskom, former executive Vally Padayachee, who's with me in studio tonight. A very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for coming in. What do you make of the events of the last 36 hours or so?
A very good evening to you, Tamikile, and a very good evening to your viewers. Just a correction, I was an executive manager and not an executive at Eskom. I think the events in the last, I think 24 hours, thereabouts, has been dramatic. My personal reaction is that I'm actually disappointed that the group CEO of Eskom is leaving now and leaving in the midst of a crisis, a significant crisis where, inter alia, we are actually at stage 6. But when I say I'm disappointed, it's from a different context. I think the departure could have been avoided. In other words, in terms of the timing, I'm actually not surprised that Mr. de Ruyter is leaving, given the circumstances around why he's leaving. But I think the timing, in my opinion, of the interview was, in my opinion, also at a time when there was a crisis where the consequences of that interview could have been known, because the contents of the interview, and I don't want to get into the detail of that because there could be legal implications on the contents, but I think safe to say that the contents were a bombshell, right? The least to say, and so that is why I say, given the contents, the ramifications of that, the consequences of that, I'm not surprised that he was asked to leave. But I'm very disappointed at the timing because it could have been avoided, because we were right in the middle of a significant crisis.
But what could he have done about the crisis? I mean, this crisis started right under his watch as CEO and continued to worsen. By the time he resigned in December, we already at quite a dreadful stage with load shedding, and we're now in stage 6 blackouts, and he's due to leave. He was due, at least, to leave anyway in March. So what difference does a month make?
Well, let me come from a different angle, and I alluded to this at the beginning, that when you are a CEO and a director, actually when you are a statutory director of a company, there is always a special relationship between yourself, your fellow directors, and especially the board and the shareholder. And especially in a crisis situation, that relationship has to be bulletproof, right? And so the relationship has to be cultured on a basis of loyalty, a duty of loyalty, a duty of care, duty of disclosure, etc. And every director and CEO should be aware of that. And at the end of the day, you should be acting in the best interest of the company. And that's why I say that I don't believe that by having the interview at this time and knowing the consequences probably was in the best interest of the company.
So is it the interview that André de Ruyter gave with these allegations against unnamed members of the ANC that broke the relationship, or was the relationship already broken, you think?
I can't comment on that because I'm not privy to that, and I'm not close to that type of detail. But I believe that from other reports that the interview had led to him being asked to leave early.
But there's no way they could work together, could they, with the shareholder government, given what had been said in the interview? And when you look at the reaction, for example, from the ANC and what the party has now said about André de Ruyter, it was going to be a situation that just would not have worked for the next month.
Well, in fact, I want to also add, Temikila, that when I mentioned the special relationship at the beginning, that special relationship is predicated on trust. And I'm of the opinion that that interview could have been the last straw, in my opinion, that would have broken the trust. And as you say, when the trust relationship is broken, then obviously you cannot work together.
I know you don't want to comment on the substance of the allegations of corruption, political interference, but those have been made in the past about Eskom. So did it surprise you to hear André de Ruyter speak of the Eskom within which he was working as he did in that interview?
It did surprise me in the context that as a director, as a CEO, he went public with it in the context of that interview. I believe that, and as I say, an element of trust, the comments that he made there could have been done internally and through the structures to the board and the shareholder. But I question, by going public in the manner that he did, may not have been in the best interest of the company.
How helpful, though, is what has been described as explosive revelations, bombshell allegations, or revelations by André de Ruyter? How helpful is all of that without names? Because he would not give names.
Well, I think he must answer for that, and I think he needs to answer for that because he's done that in public. And there are serious aspersions there. And that's why I say I do not want to comment on that, because there could be legal implications in terms of that, especially having done that in public.
Is it fair to ask then why he didn't speak sooner?
Yes, I think he's probably going to be asked that question, and he must respond. I would argue, I mean, this interview could have been done after he left, and it would have had the same messages would have been put forward. So why choose the timing now when we're right in the middle of a stage 6? We could be in stage 7 one of these days, stage 8. And when a group CEO of a major company like Eskom leaves, let alone any company, in the middle of a crisis, it exacerbates the crisis. It does not make the crisis any more easier. So that's why I say I'm very disappointed that the circumstances that led to him leaving could have been better managed, could have been better controlled from his side. I mean, he could have chosen, as I say, given the fiduciary duties to be in the best interest of the company, to have had this interview at some other time and sought to address this crisis where we are sitting on a knife edge in terms of load shedding.
And how much responsibility, just lastly, Mr. Padayachee, should André de Ruyter, now as the former CEO of Eskom from 2019 to 2023, a period in which load shedding escalated, got so bad that we reached stage 6, and I was reading reports today saying we in fact got all the way up to stage 7 just this week, yet to be confirmed officially by Eskom. How much responsibility should he carry for this crisis?
I would say it's significant responsibility, but not full responsibility. Why I say significant? When he took over as CEO, our energy availability factor was around 70%, 72%, or thereabouts. We've gone down to at least 49%. If we were at 72% energy availability factor now, ironically, we would not be in a crisis situation. We would not be load shedding. So that's why I say, whether he likes it or not, he was the group CEO. He was the boss man. And it was under his watch that we've come down from 72% to the worst case scenario at one time was 49%. And now we're sitting around about in the middle 50s. So, as a good CEO, you've got to carry the can for that.
Mr. Vally Padayachee, former Eskom executive manager, good to have your time tonight. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.